My name is Jim Caprero. I am a member of the board of directors of Marquette Bank, and I have been so since 1992. When I was a child, my grandfather and grandmother used to take me to Marquette Bank every Saturday when they did the banking, and I had my first savings account when I had a paper route. Actually, I was probably about 10, 11, 12 years old. So yeah, I had a prior association with Marquette Bank as a kid customer. We'd make money orders to pay bills, or they would make money orders. I'd just tag along to pay bills. And they would always, as we walked through the door to the bank, would point out what it said above the door. And what it says above the main door going into the bank entrance is, "The little you save today may mean a lot tomorrow." The little you save. It didn't say, "Large corporation, please put your millions or billions of dollars here." It said, "The little you save today may mean a lot tomorrow." That marketing message spoke to their customers. It spoke to their client base. It portrayed a value of people who had assets, but not big assets. But assets that were very important to them, and that in a safe place like Marquette Bank, you can not only keep your assets safe, grow your assets over time, but have your assets combined with those like you, your neighbors, the people who lived on your block, on the next block, your fellow parishioners. And in that combination, those assets could be reinvested to make the environment, the economic environment that you lived in, strong. You know, every neighborhood, every set of neighborhoods exists as it does and will exist as it will, because thousands of decisions are made every day by thousands of individual people on very different things. But when you collate them all together, the cumulative effect is about quality of life in the neighborhood. Marquette Bank was at the table at the beginning. And when I say the beginning, I mean 1974. At the beginning, where a strategic plan was created, an investment campaign was conceptualized, and then we went to work. And we worked very, very hard over many, many years. We had commercial B district zone blocks where small stores used to be, that couldn't compete anymore because in the 60s, regional shopping centers like Ford City were built. And so we had vacant storefronts. And some of those storefronts became fire gutted. And so we had vacant rubble. We put together a bold plan to tear down 2 blocks of that and build low-income elderly housing, because we had a lot of widows who were overhoused when their 3-bedroom bungalow was occupied by themselves solely because their spouse had passed. So we created 60 units of low-income elderly housing. Marquette Bank was the first investor and the lead investor in that project. Chicago Tribune wrote an article on it because it was bold. Why? We weren't trying to do B district use. We were trying to do service use by having housing for low-income seniors who are on fixed incomes be there. We had 60 units. Within the first 4 months, maybe 5 months, we probably had 600 people put in applications for that. The market was so deep, but nobody ever thought about that before. And not only did we eliminate the blight, but we created a beautiful environment for the people who live there. And the people who live there were just like all the other people in the neighborhood. They were model citizens in that they became friends, they became neighbors, and they did not look like each other. The one thing they all had in common is they were older, but they weren't from the same ethnic background or racial background. And when that worked, we took down the next block, because once we had 60 units for well elderly, it wasn't very long after that we needed assisted living, because nobody stays healthy forever. people need help. So we took down the next block and we connected the two buildings. We built 102 units. 102 units of assisted living. And we connected them. We talked the city into vacating the street. We relocated the utilities. This is not a very easy thing to do. Why did we want to connect them? So that people could stay together when a spouse needed assisted living, but their married partner did not. They could stay in the well-elderly apartment. The spouse could be in assisted living, and they could take their meals together in the common dining hall that was in the connector between the two buildings. After we cut the ribbon and people started to move into the first elderly apartment project, the chairman of the board of Marquette Bank, Paul McCarthy, called me up one day, said, "Jim, I'd like to sit down with you." So we went out and had a cup of coffee. And he said, "We'd like to invite you to join the board of Marquette Bank." And I said, "I'm not a banker. I'm not trained in that. That's not what I know how to do." You know what he said to me? "That's why we want you on the board of Marquette Bank. Marquette Bank is a leader not just in the neighborhood, but in the city, and not just in the city, but in the country." And just like I did, it grew up on the southwest side of Chicago. I guess I would say permission is given from the board and the owners of Marquette Bank to actually pursue the goal of being the best community bank in the world. And I think we are doing it. We've been doing it for years and years. Why? We have folks who work at the bank who come from the neighborhoods that the bank serves. We are the neighborhoods in that sense because we're no different. The bank employees, the bank directors, kids go to the same schools. People worship at the same churches, ride bicycles along the same bike paths, and play Little League baseball at the same baseball diamonds. We are of the neighborhood, and the neighborhood is of us. And when you're that closely integrated, it's easier to be the community bank that we strive to be, because it's in our DNA. It's the nature of who we are.